Hello and welcome. I'm Makayla, and this is To Be Known. Romantic relationships. I honestly think that they are the most interesting dynamic that we can have in our lives. If you're into that sort of thing. Maybe you're not into romantic relationships. Maybe you're just watching this episode, but chances are, if you have clicked on this, you are interested in learning more about the differences between settling and acceptance in a relationship. Because these are two very distinct things, but sometimes the lines can get a little blurry. And I just want to clear some things today because trust me, I have definitely experienced settling in situationships, relationships. I've been there, I've done that, and in my current relationship, I have learned what true acceptance is, and I just want to talk about that today because a long time ago, not a long time ago, but a while ago, I listened to a podcast episode where someone talked about the difference between these two things. And it really helped me when I was in a time of need, when I needed a little bit of perspective. And hopefully today I can be that for you. Hopefully today I can help you understand where you might be settling or where you might need to be more accepting in a relationship. I think that it is just a good refresher to listen regardless of how you're feeling. But I don't know. It's just romantic relationships are so interesting. And if you are in a relationship right now or you are wanting to get into one, I think that this episode is good for you to listen to. Because when you're single out there in the world, it can be very lonely. And you could just want to snatch anything up. And that's not a good thing. It doesn't make you feel good. I'm going to be honest, that is not the way to go. You want to be in a relationship where you are accepting of them rather than settling for someone to fill your time. Let's get into the topic of today's episode. What is settling? Well, settling is a negative experience. Settling has a negative connotation because when we are settling, it means that we are compromising our core values, our beliefs, our desires for the sake of a relationship. When we are settling, it means that we are letting go of the things that are important to us just because of this other person. When we are settling, we are choosing to stay in a relationship that doesn't meet our physical, emotional, or intellectual needs. And those are some things about settling. That's a very simple thing. And I'm just going to start with that today. And now we're going to talk about acceptance. Because acceptance, it's a positive thing. When we are having acceptance in love, it makes us feel good. Because guess what? We have mutual respect between us and our partner. There is an understanding of our values and of the reality of the situation that's going on between these two people. Acceptance makes us feel good in love because it means that we are embracing the reality of who our partner is. That means that we are seeing who they are as a person, their strengths, their weaknesses, and we are choosing to love them despite the things that we might not love about them. We don't care about their weaknesses. Maybe we do, but we choose to love them even though, he doesn't put the towel back on the rack every single time after he showers. But when we are in acceptance, it means that we are choosing to love all of the parts of our partner, and they're doing it for us too. Because acceptance is a very mutual thing, and settling is also, yes, a very mutual thing, but I think that settling, I don't know, it just doesn't make you feel good. It doesn't make you feel good in the way that acceptance does, because You will know the difference of how it feels, of what it looks like when you are settling in a relationship and when you are having acceptance in a relationship, because it's felt on both sides. You will know the difference within yourself and within your partner. Something that I think is crazy in regards to romantic relationships is that we as humans on an individual level, we create a magical connection between us and another person, and we call it love because of, the oxytocin, thank you. But we call it love. We create that magic between us and another person. And yes, love is a feeling. It is a feeling that we have in our minds and our bodies and our souls. But at the same time, it is a choice. And I just want to talk about that because yes, love is a magical, mystical feeling that makes you feel like you're in fairyland. It makes you feel like a little princess or prince, whoever you are. I don't know what you want to be, but it can make you feel like you are living in such a high land. And then sometimes love is very real. And in those real moments, that is when love is a choice. And that is when that acceptance really comes into play. I'm sorry for pointing at you, but that is when acceptance really comes into play. If you're not watching the video version, you should. But acceptance is so interesting when it comes to a romantic relationship. But we're going to talk about that later because first off, we are going to talk about settling in a romantic relationship, because if you are feeling like you are settling in a romantic relationship, or you just got out of a relationship where you knew that you were settling, or you're wanting to get into a relationship, do not settle. Do not fall into the trap of settling, because it will not make you feel good over time. When you settle in a relationship, you will regret your decision at some point in time. Whether it's now, later, 10 years from now, 40 years from now, you will regret your decision. And I always say that regret leads to resent. And no one wants to be resentful. No one wants to be angry at people or at themselves for the choices that they have made. So that is why settling in a relationship is so toxic to ourselves and in our dynamics with people, because it's not going to last over time. The feelings that you have about this person, they aren't going to stand if you are settling in a relationship. And that's the hard truth of it. When you are in a state of feeling regretful, feeling resentful, you will not be fulfilled in your life. This relationship that maybe once brought you that fulfillment doesn't do it anymore. It doesn't make you feel good anymore. When we find ourselves settling into a romantic relationship, it usually is because of a few things. First off, when we settle in relationships, it means that we have lowered our standards. And I feel like we've talked about this a lot on the internet. I'm saying we as in the internet. Standards have been such like a clickbait term, I feel like, of just like raise your standards, have your standards, blah, blah, blah. And it's true, because you should not lower your standards for anyone. But what I mean by lowered standards is that your partner doesn't align with your fundamental core values or beliefs. So this means that you are being with someone who doesn't align with who you are as a person. And that is what I mean by lowered standards, because you have the things that you need in life in order to feel loved, in order to be looking towards the future, in order to be okay in a relationship. And when you lower those standards for someone, my golly gee, is it gonna hurt? It will hurt you. Usually when we lower our standards and we settle into relationships, we might be coming from a place where we are scared of being alone, or we're tired of being alone. We're tired of being single. We want to have someone. So we look around the room and we go, bing, you are mine. And whatever it is, however, whatever the way they are, we just don't want to be alone. And this fear of being alone makes it so that you are just in a relationship where you are settling. And I'm not saying that's like every single time, but I'm just saying 9 times out of 10, that's usually how it goes. Because when we have a fear of being alone, we might be staying in a relationship or choosing a relationship where we don't want to get out of it only because we don't want to be lonely anymore. But when we are in a relationship where we are settling, we are holding ourselves back from genuine connection and compatibility with someone who is out there. They are out there, I promise you. But that fear of being alone, that fear of loneliness, that not wanting to be single anymore, or again, it's holding you back. And it's making you lower your standards and be with someone who isn't meeting your needs. That's what settling is. That's what that fear gives us. It tells us that we should be in this relationship that probably isn't serving us. And in turn, for this relationship that we are settling in, we're compromising our own happiness. When we compromise our own happiness, it just leads to a whole slew of things that don't feel good. Because when we think that this relationship is the thing that's giving us our happiness and it doesn't give us our happiness anymore, what are we to do? Where are we to go? And especially if you are coming from a place where you are scared of being alone, this can be a very existential crisis feeling. I'm not going to lie. It makes you feel so dependent on this other person when you are giving up your own fulfillment or happiness just for the sake of this relationship. And your partner might not even know that you're doing it. And that doesn't make you feel good either. But when you are settling in a relationship, there are all sorts of reasons. And these are just some of the ones that I could think of. There are all sorts of reasons why you may be settling in this relationship, or why you might just be wanting to get into a relationship to begin with. Maybe you're like, oh, like I really want a boyfriend or a girlfriend, and like I don't want to be single anymore. Rethink that sentence. Just rethink that sentence. Rethink that sentence if that is a thought that you've had, because the right person will come. You should not settle just for the sake of curing, I'm doing air quotes if you can't see me, curing your fear of being alone. With that being said, I'm going to give some signs that maybe you might need to hear if you're in a relationship where you feel like you might be settling, or you just might want to be on the lookout for whatever relationship is coming next, because there are telltale signs that you might be in a relationship where you're settling. And the first thing is that you are ignoring major red flags. I love the red flag trend that's going on social media, because it's so true. When you think of a red flag, you're scared. You're scared. And if you are ignoring the red flag, if you're like, that's fine. Like, who cares anyways? Like, he's hot. I'm shaking my head if you can't see me. Run in the opposite direction. If someone, when you're talking about the future with someone, or even just about the present moment, if someone doesn't want to commit to you and you want to be committed in a committed relationship, leave. If you are in a committed relationship and you are choosing to be with someone who doesn't want kids, but you want kids, reevaluate. Because when you are settling on compromises on these big red flags, that is just that's heavy. That's some heavy stuff right there. That is a lot. You are putting yourself in a very difficult place, and this person is putting you in a difficult place as well, because they shouldn't be with you. You shouldn't be with them if your core values of what you want out of life aren't aligning. And these are major red flags that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like, oh, like he has his phone on do not disturb, red flag. Like I'm not talking about stuff like that. I'm talking about major red flags. Do not ignore them, especially if a red flag that you're ignoring is the fact that this other person might be talking to other girls or boys. I don't know who it is, but if they're talking to other people or you think that they might be cheating, intuition knows. Your intuition knows when there is a red flag, and do not ignore it. Do not ignore that feeling. Do not ignore those differences that you might have between you and your partner. With that being said, I already touched on another one, but when we are settling in a relationship, we might be compromising on the big things. We might be compromising on our core values. And I said that was a red flag, but that's kind of different. But yes, this question of, does your partner want kids? Do you want kids? Are they very adamant on wanting no kids and you really want kids? That's something that's going to be very hard when, you know, it's a couple years down the line or a couple months. I don't know your timeline, but that's going to be something that's really hard, and that will make or break your relationship. So when that first ping strikes where you hear something that doesn't align with your core values, note it and remember it. And if it keeps coming up and it doesn't change, you will not change anyone. You will not change anyone and their mindset. It is very, very, very hard to change people's core values. Don't think that you could change them, because if you're thinking that you could change someone and be like, no, but like I bet I could convince him to move across the country, I would think again. I would think again and be like, you know, if he wants me to stay so bad, maybe he's hoping that I will change too. You shouldn't have to change on the big stuff. At least that's my personal opinion at this current moment. I'm just saying, disclaimer. Compromising on your core values is a sign that you are settling in a relationship. Just saying. The next thing, and here comes Astro again. The next thing is emotional unavailability. And this goes both ways. If your partner is not wanting to talk about emotions, is not wanting to talk about the real things in life, if your partner cannot handle your big emotions, or when you are upset, when you are feeling stressed out, if they can't handle those things, those big emotions, really reevaluate the relationship, because they should not be shutting down when it comes to emotions if they are being accepting of who you are in a relationship. And if you are emotionally unavailable and not wanting to talk about the real things with this person, why is that? Why aren't you wanting to get to know them on a deeper level? Why don't you want to deal with the real things? Do you intrinsically know that you're settling in a relationship? It might be a sign. It might also be a sign of self-sabotage, and we will get to that in another episode. But if there is emotional unavailability in the relationship, you might need to have a conversation around the emotional unavailability, because maybe your partner, maybe they're coming off that way. You're like, oh, am I settling in this relationship because we don't really talk about emotions? It's hard for my partner to talk about emotions, or vice versa. If you talk about it and the conversation goes well, and the other person hears you out and shares and talks about those things after you have those feelings like, oh, like, why don't we talk about the deep stuff? And they respond well, that's a sign of emotional availability. You have to have a conversation about it before you could just exit off. If they shut you down when you are trying to talk about emotions, time and time and time again, when you are trying to talk about the real things in life, reconsider your relationship. If I'm going to be honest, just reconsider, reevaluate. Something else that is settling in a relationship is a lack of physical attraction. If you are dating someone where you don't want to touch them, you don't want them to touch you, you don't want to do anything, and I'm saying this if you are a person who wants that, if you are a person who wants to engage in, sex or touching or whatever it is, if you're a person who actually likes those things and you're not wanting to do that with the person that you are with, chances are there's something wrong with the relationship. Chances are maybe you don't really like them, or maybe they aren't as interested in you physically. I would really reconsider what you are doing in this relationship, because if you are in a relationship that is sexual and you want it to be that way and they want it to be that way and you don't want to touch, you don't want to be touched by them, I would really reconsider why you are in this relationship to begin with, because they deserve to be with someone who is attracted to them, just as you deserve to be with someone that is attracted to you. And you deserve to be attracted to the person that you're with. It's all a two-way street, you know? That is such a telltale sign of whether or not you are settling in a relationship. If someone just doesn't do it for you, then don't do them. You know what I mean? That's the one where like I have to address it. Sorry, mom, sorry, dad, but like I have to address it because it's true, and it would be ignorant of me to not include it, because attraction is one of the biggest reasons why we are in a romantic relationship with someone. There's something about them that physically attracts you to them. And maybe you're not super big on the physical stuff. I don't know who you are, but if you're not physically attracted to them and you're physically attracted to a bunch of other people, I don't know. I would think about it. Moving on to the next sign that you might be settling in a relationship is that you are getting minimal effort from your partner. If your partner is not taking you on dates or surprising you or giving you the time of day or just making you feel good in general, this is probably a sign that you might be settling. And I understand if you're in a financial situation or your partner is in a financial situation where maybe they can't, afford extravagant dates or vacations or gifts or whatever it is, there are ways around that your partner can do, that you can do for your partner as well. And these are things that you can talk about with your partner. If your partner is giving you minimal effort where you just don't even feel like you are the romantic partner, where you just feel like a friend or an acquaintance, and they're not giving you the time of day or the attention or the love and affection that a partner should be giving you, just think about it, because you know what that feels like. If your partner is leaving you disappointed with the lack of effort they are putting in a relationship, chances are you know what it feels like, and it hurts. And I think that if someone isn't giving you what you need, then you gotta leave. With that being said, I feel as though that's very aligned with this idea of settling for someone who doesn't deserve you. And what I mean by this, someone who doesn't deserve you, if you are giving someone everything that you have, all your love, all your affection, all your attention, all your care, and they are not doing the same, that is unfair. That is unfair to you. And they do not deserve you. If you are giving in all of this effort, all of this time, all of this energy, all of this emotional support, maybe it's financial support, maybe your partner degrades you, maybe your partner criticizes you, maybe your partner hurts you in whatever way, they do not deserve you. And that can be very hard to hear, especially when we give so much time and love and effort to someone. It can be very hard to hear that, because we can convince ourselves that this is the love that we deserve, but in actuality, it's not. And I just want to put that in your head. If it's something that you're needing to hear, you deserve love. You deserve to not settle. You deserve to have mutual respect. And mutual respect is the baseline. That is the baseline. That is what everything should be. And if someone doesn't respect you, if someone doesn't do things to make you feel good, they do not deserve you. Another thing about settling in relationships is avoiding conflict. I feel as though, personally with me, I have some people-pleasing tendencies, and I know that about myself, where that's what makes me avoid conflict. But if you are constantly avoiding conflict in a relationship because you are scared of what the other person, of how they will react, because you know that it won't be good, you know that they will be very upset with you for however it is you feel. If you are avoiding conflict, if you are avoiding saying the things that truly matter to you for the sake of peace and neutrality in the romantic dynamic that you guys have, that's intense. If you're avoiding conflict for the sake of just like, oh, like we'll get through it, like it's fine, it's whatever, like it doesn't matter at the end of the day, like I love them, like whatever, that's also another way that you could be avoiding conflict. If you're just like letting go of the love, if you're just letting go of the love, if you're just letting go of the truth and the respect and all of these things, where you might be avoiding conflict or just like real emotions being shared in a relationship, reconsider why you are in that relationship. I feel like another thing that is very real when we are settling in a relationship is this fear of change. If you have or are currently in a relationship where you are afraid of getting out of it, you're afraid of your life changing, you're afraid of what everyone is going to think, or how your friend dynamics are going to change, or your family dynamics, or you're afraid of your living situation changing, whatever it is, that fear can be so real and can keep you settling in a relationship. And I just want to note that that is so understandable, and I am very sympathetic towards that. But if this relationship is causing you so much pain and unfulfillment and regret and resent, and you just know that you need something better, don't be afraid to leave, because it is okay to leave and to move on to something else. That was a very heavy first half of this episode, because I just want to talk about the reality of settling in a relationship, the kind of why we do it and what it looks like. I just want to put things into perspective for you, because I know that when things are put into perspective for me and I am in the thick of it and I hear a stranger's voice on a podcast be like, hey, you know this thing that you're feeling right now? It's valid and it can be better. It helps me. So if there's one person out there where I struck a chord, hopefully in a loving way, I just want to tell you that things can get better and that you deserve to be in a relationship where acceptance is the foundation of the type of love you are experiencing. Because that's what we're going to talk about next. We're going to talk about acceptance in a relationship, because it is so vastly different from what settling in a relationship feels like. And I know this because I've lived it. I know this because I know the pain and the struggle and the fear and the shame that you can feel when you are settling in a relationship, when you are scared of being single, when you're over being single and just want something and will grab anything. I know what that feels like. But at the same time, I'm so happy that I've done things in the way that I have, and that I've learned the difference between settling versus acceptance in a relationship, because it's gotten me to the point where I am at today. And that is acceptance in love, acceptance in a romantic relationship with my current boyfriend. And man, oh man, is life better. It is a lot better. And I want to just note that, and I want to move on to our next topic, because acceptance in relationships is such a bright light that you can have in your life. Anyone in this life can have acceptance and love in their romantic relationship. So yes, going back to this idea of acceptance in our relationships, it's basically when we are facing the reality of the person that we are with, and we are loving them for their strengths, for their weaknesses. We just love them for who they are as a person. When you are accepting in love, you are choosing to love this person because of who they are. The good, the bad, the beautiful, the ugly, you love it all. And it is such a freeing feeling to be in a state of acceptance in a relationship, because you have an understanding that no one is perfect and you love your partner despite this. And they do the same thing for you. Acceptance in relationships is based on realistic expectations. And let me say this, I am a realist. I can be optimistic, but I am a realist. I understand that humans are humans. And when you are in a place of acceptance in a relationship, you know that this person is a human. They're going to have flaws. They're going to do things that you're not going to like. And they might hurt you from time to time. And you know that. You understand that every relationship has its challenges. And you are choosing to be in this one with this person because you love them. And you know what's going to come. You know that it might be hard, but you want to do the hard things with them. Because when you have realistic expectations in acceptance, you know that you are choosing your challenges with your partner. You know that when you are choosing your partner, you are choosing the things that you will have to deal with. And you're okay with it. When we are in a state of acceptance in a romantic relationship, we have appreciation and gratitude for the person that we are with. We understand who they are as a person and choose to love them and appreciate all of their little quirks, all of the little things that drive us insane. We just roll our eyes and say, oh, I love him or her. You just choose to love them despite the reality of who they are as a person, and you have gratitude for who they are and what they do and how they make you feel. You just accept it and love it and appreciate it for the beauty of what your love with this person is. And it takes a lot of emotional maturity to get to this point of acceptance in a romantic relationship, or really any relationship in your life. When you are able to accept another person for who they are, that is such a milestone in your emotional maturity, because it means that you have developed the perspective that in every relationship, it's going to require effort and time and emotions. You understand everything that is required in a relationship, and you're okay with it. You have developed the perspective that in every relationship, you are going to have to compromise. You're going to have to understand who this person is and be understanding of the things that happen, the things that they do, and that relationships require effort. That's all that relationships are. This idea of settling versus acceptance is really based on this idea of compromise. The difference between compromising in a relationship where you're settling is that you're compromising about the big things. Whereas in a relationship where there's acceptance, you just compromise about the little things. You compromise about the things that don't matter. And that is one of the signs that you are having acceptance in a relationship. When you are able to compromise on these quote non-essentials, like instead of, debating on whether or not like you're going to move across the country and one person wants to stay and one person wants to go, that's a big thing. But you guys compromise. Oh, like I want the kitchen cabinets to be green and he wants them to be white. So we'll compromise and, I'll get the green kitchen cabinets, but he could get the, man cave. I don't know. Whatever it is, the things that don't actually matter. I don't know what it is, but you know where I'm going with it. You guys are able to compromise on the things that don't truly matter, the non-essential things. Acceptance in a relationship looks like embracing imperfections. You're able to see the ways that you guys are different and you're okay with them, and you can love them despite the ways that you're different, despite, your guys' different preferences or the different ways that you guys fight or communicate. You guys are able to handle those things and appreciate each other for it. You're able to appreciate your partner and embrace the things that make you tick, the things that might give you the ick, and I hate that word, but you embrace their imperfections because that's just who they are and you love them for it. Another thing in a accepting relationship is that you support each other's personal growth. If your partner is on an upwards trajectory, you don't sit there and be like, wow, I'm jealous, like F you. And also vice versa. If you're on an upwards trajectory, your partner isn't shaming you for doing well at your job. That is something that's very big in acceptance in relationships because we are going to change over time and our personal growth is our own. It is no one else's. And your partner should be accepting of it, and you should be accepting of your partners as well. With that being said, you guys should value each other's contributions in a relationship. Whether it be financial, whether it be just time or doing little things around the house if you guys are living together, or buying flowers or planning a surprise, you guys should both value each other's contributions to the relationship. That is one of the biggest ways, the biggest signs that you are feeling acceptance in a relationship is by valuing what the other person is doing. Another thing that is valuable in a accepting relationship and accepting sort of love is respecting boundaries. Your partner should respect your boundaries, whether it be time boundaries, physical boundaries, emotional boundaries, mental boundaries, whatever sort of boundaries you have placed, your partner should be respecting those boundaries. They might need a refresher every once in a while, but if your partner is continuously disrespecting your boundaries, reconsider. Your partner in a accepting love, in a accepting relationship, respects your boundaries. That's just the truth. With that being said, when there is acceptance in a relationship, boundaries are respected, but conflicts are also handled maturely. And you will know what I mean by this. Your partner should not be exploding at you. Your partner should be sitting you down and wanting to understand your emotions, wanting to understand your thinking, wanting to understand what it is that you're upset about and what they can do to help you feel better and what they need to change in order for whatever conflict needs to be resolved. It needs to be handled maturely. There needs to be no explosions. Every conflict, it just needs to be a conversation. It doesn't have to be an argument because things happen. Things happen in relationships. We are humans and we are going to make mistakes. And when we are in a relationship where there is acceptance, where we are accepting this other person, we are able to forgive their mistakes and they are able to forgive ours. I'm mainly talking about small mistakes here, but maybe there's big mistakes as well that your partner has made or that you have made, and you guys are able to forgive each other despite the mistake because you accept your partner for who they are and you are willing to love them despite the mistake that they might have made. And this is very personal and specific to every relationship. I don't know what's going on, but mistakes should be forgiven. And I'm not saying every single mistake needs to be forgiven, but 99% of the time, mistakes should be forgiven, in my personal opinion. Acceptance in a relationship is this idea of mutual love and mutual respect and understanding that the other person is human. Before we close out, I'm just going to quickly recap the differences between settling and acceptance in a relationship. And first thing is the why. Why are you with this person? When we are settling, it is usually coming from a place of fear of being alone, fear of leaving this person or being single, or fear of just losing what you had built. Settling is also founded on insecurity, and maybe you don't know if there is something better out there for you. So you're settling for this relationship, or maybe you are being externally pressured to be in this relationship. Maybe you are, hey, like my clock's running out, like I need to be in a relationship, or everyone else is in a relationship. I feel the pressure to be in one as well. Whatever it is, these are all sort of negative reasons to get into a relationship or to stay in a relationship. That is something to consider when looking at the why of why you are settling in a relationship. And then there's the why of acceptance in a relationship. And acceptance looks like mutual respect, love, and understanding. It's coming from a place of just high regard for someone else, where you just think the best of them and you just love them and understand who they are as a person and understand that they're human. You love them despite it. It is a good feeling. Settling is a bad feeling and acceptance is a good feeling. And that's the impact of those two things. When you are settling, it leads to that regret to resent pipeline that I talked about earlier. You will feel unfulfilled in a relationship where you feel as though you're settling because you've compromised your happiness. You've compromised your core values or your time and your attention. Maybe you've lost friendships or relationships with other people in your life because of this relationship. I don't know what's happened, but when we are settling, we are facing a dissatisfaction in our lives. Whereas when we are in a relationship where there is acceptance and abundant love, the impact of this is happiness. It is fulfillment. It is joy and just feeling respected, just knowing that someone loves you for who you are as a person and that you love them for the same thing. It's just such a rewarding experience, this idea of acceptance in love. When we look towards the future between these two things, when we're in a relationship where we might be settling, there might be feelings of dread or a relationship that just kind of falls apart and deteriorates and you guys break up over time. Maybe it's slowly, maybe it's suddenly. I don't know what it looks like. Relationships where you are settling, they are not going to last. There is no good foundation of that relationship if you are settling. Whereas in a relationship where it is based on acceptance and trust and respect, you have a bright outlook on the rest of your lives. You guys know exactly where you are going together and you're excited and you're thrilled and you're just ready to get there and feeling on top of the world because you guys are partners that know you can do it together. And those are the differences between settling and acceptance in romantic relationships. I hope today that everything I said, I hope I didn't throw you for a whirlwind. I am just very passionate about this, and I know that at some point in my life I needed to hear the hard truth about certain things. Today I might have given you the hard truth about a relationship that maybe you are currently in. And if you're in a relationship where you are feeling like you're settling, just reconsider and journal about it, write about it, talk to people who you love about it. And I promise that it will get better and that things will become more clear, because when we are in a relationship where we're settling, things can feel so hazy sometimes. We can feel so lost and unsure of what to do. I hope that this episode gave you some perspective of what you deserve for yourself and what your next step in your life should be, because you deserve a love that is good, that is founded on mutual respect, a love where there is emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, and you are just thrilled about this other person. Even on your worst day, you love them and you're happy that you're with them. That is what acceptance in a relationship feels like and looks like. And if that isn't what your relationship is looking like right now, I would just reconsider some things. And that is my unsolicited advice, or maybe solicited because I'm making this podcast episode. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed. And with that being said, it is time for our question of the week. How do you personally differentiate the difference between settling and acceptance in a relationship? Think of examples from your own life. How did they make you feel? Think about it, write about it, talk to someone who you love and trust about it. I will be back again next week for another episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do not hesitate and give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe to me on YouTube at To Be Known Co. Follow on TikTok at To Be Known Co. Follow on Instagram at tobeknown.co. Listen on Spotify. You could listen on YouTube. And yeah, follow along the journey. I hope that you enjoyed today. Stay true to you. Bye.